what could be gearing up for what could be tariffs, and that could affect some of our business. So we're trying to be very diverse and agile to be able to deal with that. And I probably talked too long, Steve, so I think that's all I have.
No wind turbine blades?
We haven't had any wind in a while, so we are going to get some more. And believe it or not, I guess we're getting 90-meter blades, which are, I mean, they just keep getting longer and longer. I saw some of these on the terminal, and they were pretty cool, but they've come out with a blade that is, the tip comes off. So that reduces the length, and then they reattach the tip once they get to the wind farm. And so that may be the future of moving wind energy is the blades might have to come in two parts. So, but again, all of the wind energy we've been getting has been going up to Canada still. Yeah, good question.
Yeah. I drove across the country a couple months ago and I saw those wind turbines going through. Sure disrupts everything.
Yeah.
Oh my God, cause it. Amazing.
I'm sorry, she's breaking up and I can't hear her really well.
I didn't say anything important.
I heard that you maybe got caught in some wind blade traffic, and yes, that can be frustrating.
Thank you, Julie.
Thank you, guys.
Douglas Morrison. Hello. Thank you.
Yes, present. Sorry, I'm breaking up a little bit.
Thanks. I hadn't seen you before. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm co-vice president for Philida.
Good work.
Anything from the county, Marilyn?
And I'm having issues hearing stuff. I apologize.
I'll go ahead and take my mask off so that you can all hear me better. There's construction season is pretty much over and has been over, but Four Creeks had a presentation in November regarding the 179th Street infrastructure that's going to be happening through all of the construction and the new development that's going to be going out there. And that entire area is going to be reconfigured. The meeting was recorded and the presentation was at least 45 minutes long. It's pretty comprehensive, and it's going to result in a lot of rerouting and a lot of detouring that's going to impact North Salmon Creek, Meadowglade, probably Ridgefield Junction, and anybody that's in that area is going to see some impacts of people trying to get around those road shutdowns. And it's going to start probably sometime this year, some of the projects starting sometime this year, and it'll go on for at least 3 years. So, yeah, there's stuff happening right now. So I would encourage any of the neighborhood leaders, if you think that this is going to impact you, get a hold of me and I'll get the public works team to come out to your meeting and give that presentation, because even if you've got folks that are really big amphitheater concert goers and want to know what's going to be happening out there, it's worth knowing what's going to happen, because I was pretty amazed at all of the rerouting and the timing of how long it's going to be going on. The state of the county is going to happen again this year. We are still working on details, seeing as how there were 2 new council members sworn in. That just happened last week, District 3 and District 4. District 3 is Will Fuentes, and District 4 is, of course, that's going to slip my mind. Little. Yeah. So both of them, I've spoken to both of them. They're willing to come together or separately to an NAC meeting or to any of your meetings if you're in their district, or even if you're not in their district and you want to know more about them, they'll come out to your meeting. they seem to be very approachable. And let's see. That can wait till next month.
So this is not a date for the state account.
No, they're still talking about whether it's gonna be in person or virtual and all, you know, all the very baseline details haven't even been worked out yet. So I should know more probably in about 2 weeks. And I will send out emails to everybody prior to the next NAC meetings, because as soon as I know, people should know about it. ahead
Do
of
we
time.
even have a ballpark idea of when?
She said 3 weeks.
It's of when the
No.
date's gonna be.
Yeah, when the state of the county is.
Late March or April, and there's discussion that it's gonna be an in-person event, and if it's gonna be an in-person event, then it'll be bumped out a little bit later because we only have three people on staff to
Right.
organize that, so. And normally we start organizing this in October of the year before. So, if they want it done even in April for an in-person event, that's gonna be really difficult for us to pull together. And I'll have some more information, but we're talking about some different things on some time constraints due to some state and federal law requirements on hourly and salaried employees. I don't have any further information on it yet, but I'll be updating you as soon as I have more.
I don't think we have any other partners to report at this point, so. Since most of the meeting is going to be discussing, what presentations and topics we want covered for the next year, I think you've been organizing that thoroughly, right? So.
Oh, I should keep this up again, I guess, if I'm gonna talk.
Are we gonna vote on?
Oh, sorry. Is that first on the agenda? Okay, yeah.
We've been playing with this for a while. We
No, who would
get it off the table.
like to read and answer any questions on the amendments?
It looks like we were doing the rest of the
You're really
planning
good
and
at
looking
that
ahead
stuff. Have a
first.
voice.
Sorry?
We nominated Cook.
Wow.
Everybody read it.
Kind of mixing up the agenda there, though.
Yeah, the look ahead is still planning
Like, yeah,
2025.
that's first on the agenda.
Planning look ahead is next.
Yeah, so, yes, that's what I recall. So merrily really is now.
Well, it's actually not all me, because I don't have, I sent some information out to everybody. I got 13 replies so far on my survey that I sent out. What's happening? And I don't have that compiled yet. There were some interesting trends that were on there, some things that people were looking for. Some of what I wanted to find out was what the highest priority of the neighborhood leaders was at their meetings. And that was pretty predictable. As I said, I don't have the results here now, but speeding, traffic, pedestrian bike safety, those were all at the top. I'm not remembering what the rest of them are. I'll have a report for y'all at the next meeting. But I don't have it compiled as of yet.
Okay,
When did they go out, Merely? When did the survey go out?
3 weeks ago?
So, well, of course, with Mary Lee, sometimes I just delete them.
Just white noise.
Yeah.
But there were some answers as to, also, I went ahead and added in there of did people want to continue on with Monday night meetings? Was that working for everybody? I had a question on hybrid versus in person. And then I had questions on what services people were using. Are they using Are they using the Zoom recordings? Are they using the hybrid? Are the neighborhoods signing into the hybrid meetings? Just so that I could find out some information for Kathleen and for the council as to what the groups are using and what services are being utilized. So I can justify stuff that's on the budget and justify time that's spent on different things.
So on that email, I think it said, one of the questions said, oh no, I have to find it. But one of the questions said something like, do you check the YouTube video of the meetings? I didn't know they were up there because I know you said there was quite a lot of work
And that's why I added on there of didn't know this was available, because I want people to check, didn't know this was available.
Oh.
If you didn't know it was available, please put that on there, because that means I'm not informing you that it's ready.
Okay,
for you.
because I know you've done it once or twice. I didn't realize it was an ongoing thing. That's great. I love it.
Yeah, so because that it was another piece of the puzzle, because we've got some new neighborhoods that there's some services that maybe they're not aware of.
Yeah.
And I wanted to know if I've gotten all the words out to everybody of what is being offered.
Did everyone else know they were on YouTube?
Plus the recordings of past meetings are an important resource for new neighbors.
Yeah.
Yes. And Kirk actually has people asking him for it right after.
Yeah, yeah.
Probably on the way home from the meeting, he's probably getting a text.
Yeah.
On the way, it's hard.
It's a great,
It's,
great service.
it is, it's awesome.
Fairly. What is the YouTube name? The account name behind the videos?
It's on the Clark County YouTube channel. And then Lee made me a cover so that the front sheet of the thing that shows up on the YouTube video is a county background with county neighborhood outreach on there, so that because there's lots of videos on there. There's videos from Public Works and Clean Water and all these other different things, and all the council meetings are on there as well. So you can scroll through there, and once you see what that cover sheet is, it's really easy to find them that way, which I really appreciate you doing that. That was a real help. And I'm trying to think of it. I didn't go over that before I got here because I was really slammed today.
The other piece was if we wanted to take a break in July,
Oh, yes.
December or something.
Yes. And almost everybody said a break in December, or if there was a break in December, have a holiday party. There were several people out of probably almost at least a third of them said break in July and December, July or August and December. And that's what BNA does, which is why I put it out there, because that's what BNA does. And trying to think of any other questions. There was only like 10 questions on there. Can you think about any of the other ones on there? It was a good data set, but it wasn't what presentations do you want to see? It was more about, because it wasn't really a NAC survey. It was a survey from my office to be able to determine the prioritization of what I do in the event that there is an issue of me having to go hourly.
Oh,
Which we're still working on. So
Unrelated question for you, the signage, did those get finalized, with neighborhood signs?
I just got the TIFF and the JPEG files to be able to create the survey today. So I'll be working on creating the survey tomorrow, and it should go out by the end of the week. And when it goes out at the end of this week, it'll also go out on Clark County's Facebook page, and then you guys will get a link so that you can send it out to your neighborhood email list as well.
okay. So that means we're back to the bylaw amendments.
Have we talked about planning enough?
Oh, I don't think we're ready to talk anymore about planning without the list of available topics.
But that wasn't really so much topics on her survey. That
No,
was-
I know it wasn't.
Yeah.
But that's basically what we're wanting to decide.
Because more of what I need to know rather than just who we're gonna schedule for the meetings is that doesn't really add or subtract from my workload. What does add or subtract from my workload is what are you wanting to do? Are you wanting to do more ice cream socials? Are you wanting to do picnics in the park or outreach events? Are you wanting to do, things? Are you wanting to do things that you aren't currently doing? And do you have ideas of different things that your neighborhoods are wanting to do? Because that was what the input that I was looking for to be able to take to the county, because that takes some planning time.
Brendan, you have your hand up.
Yes, speaking to Marilee's survey here, I've got a question for you, Marilee. Question number 7, asking about hybrid meetings and preferences and that sort of thing. I'm curious what kind of feedback you got on that question.
It was pretty positive that people are using that. Not everybody's using the recordings, and not everybody realized that the recordings were available. And I haven't turned all of them into YouTube's because if somebody doesn't need them or ask for them, then it's on a low priority, to be honest.
Sure.
With my workload, if nobody's interested in having them, they just sit in a folder and they don't necessarily get transferred over. But there are several groups that want the meeting turned around right away. And the people are asking for them to be sent out on the email. And then I know Four Creeks has their own website, and so they post it on the website afterwards. But Four Creeks also has a dedicated person on their board that does development services review and does a report at their meetings of what's happening in their area. And she creates a PowerPoint and the whole deal of what's going on. And then talks about what she's learned and has the little maps up and lets people know what's happening in the area as far as development goes. If you want to see what they're doing, then it is pretty interesting to see their YouTube. Although the 179th video is on, they booked the C-Tran Highway 99 rapid transit the same night. So that meeting is 2 hours long. So if you're only wanting to know about 179th, you're going to want to skip ahead.
Fair enough.
I mean, I had the one important thing in my life. So
Yeah.
Fort
Is there
Creek
anything that
has
tells you
got
how
that
far?
recorded?
Yes, I'll send you the link. I'm going to put it up.
Yes, please. Well, we already.
Brendan, did that answer your questions?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you. I know that Amy and I have spoken to folks in our neighborhood, particularly parents and people who lack easy access to meeting locations, who are very excited to see the meetings being offered in a hybrid format. So I was just kind of curious what response you were getting from this gang. Thank you, Marilee. Appreciate it.
So thinking of our next meeting or two, it seems like might be nice to have a couple of things to consider, and that would be our new counselors invited, and then also comp plan update, because we're within 12 months of finalizing that. I think we're at some pretty key junctures coming up over the next few months. So those seem like topics that I think would have wide NAC kind of interest.
And then, oops, take this down again. And then in March, Public Works has already asked to come and talk about their neighborhood traffic management option that they're going to be bringing to council this year, where they're even talking about speed bumps for those of you who are excited about getting speed bumps. They gave a presentation to Valida community. It was a great presentation. And I think that the rest of the leadership needs to know about it and be able to come to the council meeting to support the program so that it can get voted in. Or at least write something in to say, you know, if they're in favor of it. And I asked them some of the ways that they wanted to do it. I said, I think that the neighbors are going to want a weigh in before you make a final determination on how you want to do that. Their first cut was that they were going to just do first come, first serve of whoever put the requests in. And I told them I didn't think that that was really very fair. And that they should do a review of a need and have some sort of scoring system. And so he said that they were going to put that under consideration, if I remember correctly.
Well, yes, that's really a good input because some people, it can take them a while to figure out what all's going on. And,
Yep. Yeah, and if it's a first come, first serve, and then you miss the
Yeah.
deadline and
Yeah,
everybody,
then it's
the money's
all-
already been given out, that just doesn't seem like a real equitable way to be running the program.
not as widespread as our neighborhoods are and diverse as they are.
Yeah, so,
Steve Gallup was talking to our neighborhood. He made it seem like they themselves were considering that might not be the best option either.
yeah,
So, and I think with some of the data that Patty and the subcommittee have been pulling kind of helps them see that big picture.
yeah, Patty's amazing, what the work that she's done for your
She
group.
just sent us some more information that she's gathered, so she's doing a really good job.
So that's March, will be transportation, will be March.
And I wasn't sure, I'm not sure if I'm remembering correctly, but the new council members were saying February might be too early because they feel like they're in a fire hose of
Sure.
information right now.
Sure.
So it might be April for
So
getting them here.
could we do comp plan for February?
February.
Well, we have to spend some time on figuring out what our priorities are for the rest of the year.
As well. I'm just thinking,
Yeah.
we need to
If we
figure out
don't
something
get
for
the comp
February.
plan scheduled, we're not gonna get it.
No,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah, because they'll go into full on public outreach and they'll be really busy.
If this does us February, March, that gives us some time to make planning for the rest of the year.
Well, and if Public Works wants March, it pretty much leaves it at February, only
Yeah.
time left.
And I think Bill is the only neighborhood last year that had the climate group, the climate project section of the comp plan come and present. And that was pretty interesting, some of the factors that are in that new portion of the comp plan. And that took up the whole meeting,
Pretty much.
just that.
It's a
sec-
very,
just that
it's a
section.
very interesting topic and a lot of people are interested in it.
Thanks, Kirk.
Thanks, Steve, for
Sure.
So for February, do you want me to go ahead and, I mean, is there a consensus with the group that you want me to move ahead with trying to schedule Oliver and Jose for February?
awesome.
Yeah. Figure half of the meeting for that and the other half for working out the
Yeah.
priorities for.
Oh, and there is one other thing that I forgot to mention, because Sue Marshall mentioned it at North Fork last week. The council approved a brand new advisory committee on agriculture.
Oh, yeah.
And they are actively looking for members of that to serve on that. So if you are interested in that, or if you have friends that are farmers or that own property or that are interested in any form of agriculture that would be interested in serving on that advisory board, I will resend. I think I sent it out to you guys already, but I'll resend it.
I got that one.
Oh, okay. So it has already been sent out to neighborhood leaders then. of the information of who to send the applications into.
And the local Grange is looking at sending some people some names.
Okay,
for that as
good.
well.
Because that was an important one, because that's brand new and they've been trying to get that advisory board going for many, many years. So I'll be quiet now.
Okay, so we have a couple of bylaw amendments. Who wants to read and explain them to the group?
Well, I can do it. I didn't know I was voted into it, but
That's your new job.
It was my explanation.
yeah. So there's just a couple of relatively small changes. So Article 7, they are important. Executive Board 7.1 does not change. The activities of NAC will be managed by elected volunteer executive board. 7.2 has proposed to change. The executive board will not have more than 2 representatives from each active neighborhood association participating in Clark County neighborhood outreach program. So that's changing from not more than 1 representative to not more than 2 representatives. So that's one change. Do you want to do these one at a time, or do you want me to go through the whole?
Why don't you go through the whole
Okay.
list and then
Sure.
we're obviously going to vote on them.
Sure.
Hang on a second. Can everybody that is online see
Oh, there
the
you go.
screen?
Okay.
Okay.
So you can see the red is the potential changes. So 7.3 on the right side, the executive board officers shall include the chairperson, vice chairperson, secretary, treasurer, and 2 at-large positions. The board shall have the authority to appoint members to assist with projects as needed. 7.4, nominees for the executive board positions must have attended at least 4 meetings in the 12 months prior to nomination. Attendance be verified by attendance roster maintained by the secretary. That's from 6, I believe it was before. Okay. Then 9, elections. And this just is to codify the above one. So 9.2, executive board officers shall be elected for 2-year terms. Elections for the chairperson and vice chairperson and the first at-large person shall be held on even years, with their terms beginning the start of the following odd year. Elections for secretary, treasurer, and the second at-large person shall be held on odd years, with their term beginning the start of the following even year. Those are the proposed changes.
I would just like, if I may, Stephen, to
Sure.
speak to the 7.2 change.
Right.
Part of the thing that brought up both 7.2 and 7.3, I think, are how difficult it is to get not just people who are qualified by means of attendance to NAB meetings, but people who are actually willing to take that extra time and work on a NAC board. It is extra time. And our thought was, if we had less stringent attendance criteria slapped at us, we might do better. And that also works with the idea that there are times when we have a neighborhood association that has 2 really qualified people that are willing to step up and be on the board, run for the board position, and they're restricted from doing that under the current bylaws. We played around with this and argued about it inside NAC and inside neighborhoods for years. And that particular thing is a biggie. I think we would all benefit from that. Nobody's getting any younger, and we have a huge area with neighborhoods all over the place, and she's making new ones all the time. So it's true. The more we make, the more necessary it seems to me that we have a more diverse group of people that are running the show. That's my bit.
No, that's
And
okay. You first.
When I first started coming to NAC, we were in the tail end of this process
Right.
of updating it, and I didn't understand 7.2 because, and I asked for some explanation, and the explanation that I got is that they didn't want any one neighborhood association from controlling the board, but honestly,
That's
It-
not gonna happen.
it confused me in that how is that gonna happen if you have two people from the same neighborhood on a board? You know, that's got the
Potentially.
people that it has, plus if we look at 7.4, we're increasing the number anyway, and it seemed to me that there was a bit of almost an air of paranoia about it. That you didn't want
Yeah.
two people from the same neighborhood. I mean, it's not like we're making, these kind of decisions that could affect the world. It's just that it doesn't make sense. So,
I see it as keeping opportunities open. Obviously we want diverse representation as much as possible. That's the deal.
Yeah.
But when it limits us to not having, quality people to even participate that want to do it, then it puts
Right.
us at a hindrance. So it just, to me, it seems like it's an opening of opportunity. It's not mandating that now we're going to have two and two and two and whatever.
Yeah.
So.
Right.
and I guess, sorry, but the argument for, there was some eyebrows raised when we started talking about at-large people. But one of the argument against that I heard is that there just aren't that many people that are gonna, how are we gonna draw from the amount of people that we have? But the benefit it gives you is that you're gonna have, it's a succession type plan. You get people in that maybe don't have as much experience at the board. They can watch, they can learn, the board can bring them along. I think that outweighs the ability to get 6 people together. Plus, it adds more opinion, more discussion, more diverse discussion, and it's just an all-around benefit.
Also, it contributes to maintaining institutional memory, and that is really a critical issue. We
Well,
need to have enough people who remember what things were like during the Pleistocene.
Well, I was going to say that if you view the at-large candidates as a bit of apprentice people, then that makes a lot of sense. We aren't good at doing that, and that's to our detriment. And I think that I think the excitement for me is that we get a 6-person board, and we have a lot more activity, a lot more enthusiasm, and some of our people on the current board travel. And when they're away, then, those spots have to be filled. If you have at-large people, they can do that.
so I just have a question. I just quite new to all of this, so I was a bit confused about the at-large. But I do, just what you're saying, I think I understand a little bit better. So then my suggestion would be is that could there be a little bit more clarification to the at-large positions and list them as apprentice positions rather than at-large? Because at-large to me just seems like there's just a lot of vagueness to that. And I feel that maybe if it is listed as an apprentice position, that maybe that's a little bit more intentional in actually bringing people in specifically to learn more about, and like you're saying, the succession thing of it.
Well,
We did, when we were kind of doing this, when we were going through it, we also included job descriptions in draft.
And so that will be listed within the bylaws in detail, or is it just going to be listed as at-large positions?
So I think that all depends on our timing for bringing that.
Yeah,
stuff.
right. And it depends. I think it's something that can be fluid initially, because part of the issue is that when you have at-large positions, you don't have to have a defined function for each board member. And it's easier when you have, let's say, shorter term projects that need extra hands for a while. You don't have to go appointing ad hoc people to work on a project as not being a board member or.
So I'm sorry, just not understanding. So how would that be different than like just having like a subcommittee and how it already states in the bylaws?
Part of it is that they're elected and we can actually make them do their job.
Yeah,
But the at-large is just a general, term used in kind of bylaws and it works well. Also just kind of, you just want more people to get involved. It's such an easy way. And if I were a young person coming into my neighborhood and said, you know, I wonder what's going on, I'd kind of like to know, but I don't want to run for any office that looks like I'm gonna have to do a lot of work. But those two at-large positions, now they look kind of interesting. Maybe I could learn something. That's kind of what we're trying to get to and get more people involved. And the Christmas event would be one you would just hand off to one of the at-large officers. Or both of them, maybe. Yeah, maybe both of them.
Yeah, so that would be.
Would be perfect.
And
Yeah.
so then when
So-
or if it comes time to maybe, like you're saying, the job descriptions, would that be a second vote that happens on the bylaws, or is that already going to be
I
established?
think the key advantage of at-large is it's not a job description. That they attend executive board meetings and have an equal voice, vote with everybody else, but they don't have a specific list of duties, so that they can go off and do research and come back and bring different perspectives. And I love the idea of your apprenticeship thing, except that implies that there's a step process.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I
Really
think that was the other thing, just from
So
my
I love the
experience.
idea of just getting extra voice.
Yes, and I agree with that. I was just, it's one of the things that I'm thinking of here is more so of the protection of the at-large positions, so they're not being overworked.
Sure.
Right.
Rather than
right.
them not being the extra
Yeah.
support.
Sure. And to answer your other question, those descriptions, those listed duties belong in a different section of the bylaws. So that would be something that would have to come up to another vote, another discussion along these lines. So
Unless they end up as part of a handbook or a procedure manual.
Yeah, that
Well,
was,
the creation of a handbook or a procedure manual is part of another
Yeah.
section that will have to be discussed and voted on. So,
Right.
yeah.
But we want you, I want you to specifically be comfortable with how we word this, because you're exactly the kind of people that would be filling that kind of a position. I mean,
And it would benefit the board to have a person like you
Yeah.
in the discussion phase of how we're going to
I know
word it.
that's where I was like, I wanted to make sure I came tonight and asked these questions.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
we're at our 4th month, Glida, so
Yeah.
we're definitely making sure that we know. I mean, that's part of the reason why I'm at my age and part of the neighborhood association at Glida, why we wanted to get it started, as much as I have going on, because, you know, I want to be able to have my voice heard and other people's voices heard.
Yeah.
And that is incredible with what we can do with bringing everybody together in all the neighborhoods. So I understand now.
I think the idea of the at-large positions is more that you're basically making a commitment of effort and time
Right.
that can be a little fluid in how it's described.
Okay.
Whereas, you know,
secretary spelled out, chair spelled.
yeah, I have specific duties.
unselling.
Yeah. I was gonna
It's
say,
not our
I
job.
was gonna say, I think the verbiage that we have written so far is that duties is assigned by the chair,
Yeah,
which will probably drive some people away,
Yes,
but
right.
Right,
but
well,
that's
why
that's essentially
I'm
how it
wondering
would
if
work.
we were to say, instead of at large, if we were to even use like apprentice as the terminology, would that still leave room? Would that still leave room?
Yeah, but see,
for,
I
like,
think
That's
the
a
word, I
little
think the word
tough.
apprentice has its own connotations
Yeah.
to it, and it might make people feel that,
less than or,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and we
Yeah,
don't want
I guess
that.
to me, when I looked at it, it was like at large, I was like, that's very, like, to me, it was so broad, it kind of pushed me away.
Sure.
But I can see both sides of it.
I would be moved. I guess.
Yeah,
I'm
or
thinking
either,
of
because
jobs.
you already have secretary, which is already very outlined.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the,
Yeah.
the chair, vice chair, secretary, and treasurer
Right.
are specifically outlined. There's a specific list of duties. So, but
how you define
at-large,
here.
apprentice, gopher, whatever you want to call them.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
it's a succession plan. It's to get more people like you and interested, and add more voice to the discussion when the board meets.
Okay.
Sounds like you would have more authority if you came in as an at-large person than you would as an apprentice. Yeah. Which is,
But I
I
do,
think you put
I
somebody
appreciate the, I'm sure you guys have talked about this for a long time. But,
You wouldn't believe.
yeah, I like hearing that there's the idea of the succession plan.
We have 2 raised hands and a question in the chat.
Okay. So,
That was,
let's do Debbie first, because Brendan's had,
Brendan was the first hand
oh,
up.
okay, go ahead, Brendan, then.
Yeah, thanks. I just kind of wanted to push back a little bit on 7.2 and the idea that adding representatives from the same neighborhood association would increase the diversity of perspectives in NAC. It seems that doesn't respectfully, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Mostly, I think because the spirit of NAC seems, from what I've understood so far, to be that each neighborhood association is bringing, a representative. I mean, sure, multiple folks attending to have their understandings and their perspectives and to bring that back to their membership. But generally, I would guess that, 2 of us coming from the same neighborhood association are going to be on the same page about a lot of things. And if we're not, and I see, some heads shaking, and if we're not, I feel like we're actually just exporting our disagreements to NAC instead of coming to NAC, unified, saying, hey, this is what, West Hazeldale's board and membership has agreed upon, and we can come to NAC and we can have, one voice, one vote. And then, for example, if my membership objects to that, then they can, take that up with me back at our meeting. I think that's really secondary to my primary point, though, which is that I feel like the real reason for this, from what I understand from y'all, is we don't have enough people to fill these positions. I've heard that repeated multiple times. Well, we need more people, and I think it's a mistake to equate more of the people who are already here in this room with more diversity. And while this isn't as easy of a solution as just saying, hey, you over there, you can join the board as well, I would argue that perhaps a better tack would be to figure out how to get more diversity and representation from those other neighborhood associations, because I know that there are other NAs who aren't here, and of course, for me and Amy, this is our first time, but our past board has had representation here, so we're not new. But I do see a couple of folks that I think are new and are kind of coming here for the first time and raising their hand. How do maybe we think about that? How do we get the people who aren't here involved? Because I think there's a lot of really valid considerations for why people wouldn't come here to get involved. It might feel a little bit futile. For example, if you're here for the first time, you don't qualify to run for a board position. So again, going to that idea of, oh, we're adding these at-large positions because then the new folks can take them. Well, that's actually incorrect. The new folks can't take them until they've been here for a period of time. With kind of the old guard running the show. So I know that I know I'm in the minority, but I do think that it's an objection that's worth raising.
Well, a couple things to address the issues that you brought up. As far as new people being here and not being able to run, that's why we addressed that in 7.4, trying to make it so that more people are actually eligible to run. Another point that I'd like to bring up is that the executive board does not influence people's opinions. I mean, if there's two people from the same neighborhood that, well, first of all, I haven't met too many people from the same neighborhood that have exactly the same positions on any one issue. But that aside,
Still,
the chair's job is to run the meeting, not to push his agenda or anybody else's agenda. And I think that's kind of an erroneous idea to think that because there's two people on the board, we're going to be able to gang up and we're going to force the rest of NAC to do what it is that we want to do.
Respectfully, I did not say that. I heard that brought up earlier as kind of as a straw man, anticipating objections, but
But
Okay,
Brendan, just one second. You forget how big our neighborhood association is. We've got thousands of people in there. It's not
I
a
haven't
block.
forgotten. No.
Just agree on the same thing. We have a diverse neighborhood, as everybody does. There's not a little neighborhood in the county. We're all thousands of people. And the chance that you're going to find somebody that agrees with absolutely everything you want to do in West Hazeldale or anywhere else in the county is going to be really rare. I don't think that's a good argument. You can work on a better argument if you want. That one I don't like.
Oh, okay. Well, I respectfully, I don't think that we've done a bad job of bringing other people in is a good argument for letting more of the same people that are already in the room onto the board. And reducing attendance requirements doesn't change the requirements for the time requirements. So, and I'm not making an argument for, letting me or Amy, onto the board today. I'm saying that the reasons I'm hearing for this change are inconsistent with the execution, if that makes sense.
Okay, just one final point on this subject is that if we find that one neighborhood association has two candidates that are willing to do the work and are excellent candidates and want to be on the board, want to make a difference, currently we can't do that.
Yeah.
We're prohibited from, sometimes we're excluding really good people from the board by that rule. And that was one of the main things that we addressed when we discussed it. And believe me, we had a lot of discussion on this. It went quite deep. So that's.
And
Yeah, I mean,
it's not new either, Brendan. We've been talking about this for years.
Okay, but I'm new. So either I have the right to voice my opinions, or I don't, because you've already had plenty of discussion. That's that actually I think speaks exactly to my point of the chilling effect of new people getting involved. I think that I don't disagree with the sentiment that more people is better, more people doing things, more people working together, diversity of opinions. I don't disagree with that at all. I disagree that the solution is to bring in more people from the existing pool, because there are more people that aren't here that maybe it's worth thinking, well, what's the outreach to them? How do we bring them here, so that they want to get involved? Like I would be really interested in hearing from the folks from Philida, for example. I mean, we did hear a little bit about, what prompted you to show up today, but was that outreach? Did someone come to you and say, your voice is super important, please come to this meeting because we're about to have a vote and it's really crucial that you're here? Or was it a coincidence that you decided that now was the time, et cetera, et cetera? I agree with the intent for sure. I think that the execution is lacking, unfortunately.
The execution of having more people coming from the board, or excuse me, having two people from the same neighborhood on the board, or the execution of getting more people to the meetings, because it seems to me that that's two different issues. And if we address the issue of getting more people at meetings, then of course, you're broadening the number of people that are available to run for the board. So the issue of having two people from one neighborhood association is an issue separate from the process of getting more people to attend the meetings.
Well, I mean, I understand they're technically distinct concepts, that they're both related to the idea of more people on the board, because what I've heard from those of you, kind of part of the, the club so far here has been, we need more people who are willing to volunteer. We need more people on the board. We need more interaction. So it sounds like the current solution for that is this bylaw amendment, which is let more of the people who are already here, or let more of the people who are already represented here get on the board so that we have more people. Whereas what I'm saying, as simply as I can, is why not instead say, how do we get the people who aren't here here? And I think that then becomes kind of an existential question too, because you start going, well, what is the purpose of NAC? What's the role of NAC? And I don't really mean that just rhetorically or critically. I mean that what is it that you really want to achieve, and why is that better achieved by just adding more of the same folks to the board?
I think your construct is too restrictive. We're not saying more of the same people. Yes, we want people to have at least attended some meetings before being on the board. And there's a very practical reason for that. And the practical reason is we had a very bad experience a few years ago where we elected a person for an office who had only been to one NAC meeting, had no real sense of commitment to either the position or the organization, and only came to one meeting after being elected to the position and took off, basically, with all of the records relating to the office. So fundamentally, we initially we passed a bylaw requiring 6 meetings in a year because we felt that somebody who wants to be on the board at least ought to have shown some sense of being willing to commit some time and effort. And the reason for the 7.4, the way it's intended to be amended, is we discovered that 6 meetings was probably too restrictive a requirement. But the way that it's intended to be amended now is intended to strike a balance between the two. On the one hand, no, we don't say that you need to have been here for 5 years and attended 45 meetings in order to be on the board. But we also think it's not only reasonable, but probably the more cautious and intelligent thing to do to require at least some indication of a willing to commit time and effort in order to be. Yeah, go ahead.
Can I respond to Brendan's? One thing with the 2 representatives, the representatives are elected by the NAC in body. And so they can choose to elect only one from each neighborhood if there's enough people and they want to do that. What this allowing 2 does is it allows the body to consider that as an option, not as necessarily an ideal option, but as a potential option to, again, function the way that, with a
Right.
full board. So it doesn't mandate two people from in any entity, any neighborhood. It just allows it if that's what should be is best for that time.
Yeah, I really appreciate that perspective, Kirk. That I think that that articulation, combined with, again, the idea that probably more important is increasing that diversity from outside is something I'd like to see. No objections to 7.4 whatsoever. But I know Debbie's had her hand up for a long time, and I'm not changing any minds tonight, so I'll sit back and let someone else talk. Thank you all.
Thank you. Debbie?
Yeah, I just had a question. I wanted to make sure when they said at large, that it was the executive.
Yeah.
Not just anybody that's in the neighborhood. You have to be an executive for the neighborhood, like the president, vice president, treasurer, secretary, right?
Actually, the way the bylaws are written, that's not necessarily required.
Okay,
It's probably better to have, individual neighborhood association board members participating, but
I don't believe that the current form of
no, the
bylaws
current form of the
requires
bylaws does not,
any
doesn't place any restriction.
Good point, Debbie.
You need to be a member of a neighborhood association, but other than that, there's nothing in the way the bylaws are written now that limits that you have to be an
As
officer.
long as you attend 4 meetings in 12 months.
Yeah. Again,
Yeah, I don't
showing
even
the
think
commitment
anybody.
to make the effort and time. I'm sorry. I interrupted you.
This is the first I've heard of that it wasn't just executives for the neighborhood associations that could attend these meetings. So I'm kind of new too. So anyway, so I just,
That's a state law, Debbie.
okay,
These meetings are covered by the Open Meetings Act, which means that any public meeting must be open to all members of the public. So you don't actually even have to be a resident of a neighborhood
um,
association in the unincorporated part of the county in order to attend a meeting.
I do believe that there's one thing to that is that to vote.
Yeah.
You have
There's
to be
one-
assigned representative for
Right.
that neighborhood association.
Right. No, that's true. And there is one vote per neighborhood association.
Yeah.
And that's clearly spelled out in the bylaws.
And none of this changes that.
Well, I have a follow-up question then. If say there are then two members of one association elected to the board, then does that mean that they only get one vote? Because
That's right.
Per neighborhood.
right,
Each neighborhood
One vote per
association
neighborhood.
only gets one vote.
then in a
So-
sense, then that's technically it's two people, but it's like one position because they only count for one vote. They only carry one.
In that
vote.
sense, it.
Right.
But
Yeah.
this is
If they were
an
both from the same
staff,
neighborhood.
not of the executive. The executive.
Or from one of the neighborhood associations at the other executive board office.
So then that would mean then that yes, even if they're both on
I think
the
you
board,
lost it.
then that
Okay.
means one neighborhood would technically
Sure.
get two votes.
no. I
Yes.
have, I
What
have
is that?
one
Yeah,
more.
go ahead. Dave.
One more statement, and it's just I've been on I've been on a couple boards, but I've been involved with a couple boards where I was the staff person, and it seems to me that an odd number on the board seems to make it easier to actually have a 3-2 versus a 3-3 to make decisions. So and then we always just called the other person board member. We didn't have it at large, but that's just a minor thing. I was just curious about more of the having an even number for ties.
Generally
Debbie?
speaking, the chair does not vote.
Oh.
Robert's rules,
Yeah.
on Robert's Rules of Orders, if there's an even number of folks on the board, then the chair is not voting on any of the issues.
Right.
Okay,
And Debbie, on that same idea, if you had a board of 6 and two members are from the same neighborhood, that's 5 people voting, that's 5 votes. not
Right.
6.
yeah,
So
but
that's
no guarantees that's gonna happen, so. That you're gonna have to, it's an option, but no guarantees that that is what happens.
Question in the chat. I'm new to Neighborhood Association leadership and NAC. Has there been a history of committees and subcommittees in the past for these various activities that a future at-large would be taking over?
We did the railroad report, kind of a committee.
Yeah.
We've
that was
done the social committee kind of
Yeah.
thing. So there's a couple things that we have done in the past.
Yeah.
They would not necessarily be assigned.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
Right, I don't think that the person was created in so much as you guys assigned a person to help out with what the board was gonna do,
Invite
which is.
So I was speaking to the individual wearing the red sweater in the back because you had mentioned committees, subcommittees, and so I'm new to this, but I was just wondering, I mean, I hear what you all are saying, but if we need somebody to be an at-large board member to cover some of these responsibilities, why aren't we managing this by different committees and subcommittees and groups? That's my question. And I'm new to NAC and the NA, so I am, asking this in earnest. I guess I'm not sure why we're going to the at-large and maybe abandoning the committees. I'm not sure what's going on. If you could explain that.
If,
And then elaborate on her question too, is what I was gonna say is that, one of the things you said earlier was that you were having trouble enforcing the subcommittees to complete responsibilities.
Oh, no.
And that's what I was confused about, because to me, at large kind of just feels like a subcommittee position, someone that you could appoint to take on the extra credit or that extra responsibility or roles or whatever needs support from the board. But then I wasn't sure why that would be difficult, like enforcing that they were completing those difficulties and how that would be different.
You're so young.
And for it's okay, her job is to insult people, so. No, but,
Like adults and be
but,
professional.
yeah,
Too.
I understand. In my experience, and I haven't been here as long as you guys have, we have a need for subcommittees. Very small need
Yeah.
for subcommittees, and essentially the work that I've been involved with is that I was asked by the board to participate, which is how it's spelled out currently in the bylaws, is people will be assigned as needed.
So, but if you haven't had a lot of those, a need for the subcommittees in the past, then why would you need an at-large person? I'm
Well,
confused. I don't
think
understand.
Yeah, we discussed
the
that.
purpose, and the purpose of having at-large positions is having more people to provide rational and sensible discussion on important issues within the board.
Plus, it's bringing up new people in the function of the board and giving them experience so that as the older people.
Die off.
Watch it.
No, but does that
Absolutely.
mean that people not on the board are irrational?
No.
So I don't really get that.
Not,
The more voices you have.
Yeah.
Providing input on topic, the young, low,
yeah, whatever.
whatever, you generate a better discussion. It doesn't mean anybody's being irresponsible or
I-
outrageous. It's
I
just
think-
multiple opinions come together around what's best for them.
I think tonight's discussion is a perfect example of that.
Yeah.
Of what we're looking for in the board by adding more people, as well as bringing them up with the experience of being on the board. And this is the perfect example of what we're talking about. Getting more different voices with a different perspective on things. So
Iowa.
this, just think about it, Amy, as many hands make light work. And if you have people you can absolutely count on as elected at-large representative, then you don't have to say, oh, we've got a project coming. Oh my gosh, you know, can I go? Who can I go to? Who can I reach out to? We don't have to do that because you've got two people who have already stepped up and said, I will volunteer my time to do what is needed for NAC when it's needed. It just.
I hear what you're saying. I guess I just have a different perspective on how these types of groups and organizations are run. I mean, I don't know, like I've been on committees before and we didn't really have any problem having, you know, work projects and groups and having, you know, people run the different projects. And so I don't know. I guess this is just a different experience. So, but thank you for answering my question. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I think the issue is more the perspective, and you're looking at it from a point of view of tasks to be parceled out or something like that. And we're looking at it from the point of view of elevating the quality of discussions and decisions that are made.
Art has a hand.
I would say that, you know, first of all, when NAC was first formed, it was agreed that most neighborhoods, they all had pretty much the same problem, but they all attacked it at a different angle. What I see you're doing here in adding 2 people up to 2 people, if you can find 2 more people in your area that want to participate, sure, you are legitimizing their participation in the group. Instead of just showing up as an observer, if they can, you know, and assigned a job or something to do, a task, a subcommittee, whatever, to get information, you're legitimizing them as part of the group, not as an outsider.
Yeah.
And that's the whole issue of, you know, what do you want to call them? You, oh, blah, ding, it doesn't matter. You know, the title isn't really that important. The fact that you're legitimizing them as part of the group is what's really important.
Debbie's got her hand up again.
I was just wondering, you know, this is going on my 2nd year. So I've been here like a year, tried to attend most of the meetings, but I don't really know what the board does. So I wouldn't necessarily want to volunteer unless I know what it does. So other than do this meeting, I don't know what else it does. So just thought maybe somebody could tell me.
Well,
Don't look at me, Steve. I'm not even on the board.
see, here's our first at-large member.
We're not there yet.
Yeah. Well, we organize and run the meetings. We interact with various parts of the county when there is a need or opportunity to do so.
Say for the last year or so, we have been going over our bylaws. I mean, it's, you know, part of the infrastructure of NAC. We're responsible to make sure that it works well.
Right.
And then we talk to Marilee, and through the outreach office, she can tell us what groups in the county, what departments, what people really want to talk to the neighborhood. And I mean, it doesn't do us any good to say, gosh, it'd be great, you know, if we talk to the railroad accounting office, or if there were such a thing, if they don't want to talk to us. So often as
or if our people aren't interested in what their people have to say,
well, yeah,
which is also an issue.
We have known for 6 months that with the rearranging and all of the shuffling inside Public Works, that their traffic program would be delayed until March. We've been told that for the last 4 or 5 months. And now it's happening and it's available. And we do some research, we figure out what's going on, we listen to what people say to us and send us notes about, or we encounter a situation in our own neighborhood or somebody else's neighborhood that brings up a problem that's probably countywide, and then we see what we can do about it.
So do you guys meet off, another day? Do you meet like a couple times a month, or how do
Usually have-
how do you do
We
your
usually have
business?
at least one officers meeting a month, sometimes more, usually it's one.
And that's a Zoom meeting with Marilyn.
No, I know. But this has been a fruitful discussion. Yeah.
I'm just gonna raise one concern just from a staff perspective, especially since there's potentially a review on my time. We normally have, our turnout for this meeting is normally 10 neighborhoods, 9 to 10 neighborhoods is the average. And we have 18 active, and there's probably at least five of them that never come. So there's 10 that regularly come. Just from an appearance of fairness and a issue, and then also a staff workload issue, I'm wondering if it makes sense to have a group of 6 people meet and then a group of 10 people meet. I'm just gonna throw that out there.
I don't understand.
Yeah.
So
6 for the
you're
board,
thinking
6 to 10
separating
for
the
the.
NAC meeting into,
I'm saying that that if we have a board meeting, that there wind up being 6 board members because of the additional 2 at-large positions. That then there's gonna be an executive board meeting that plans what's gonna happen at this meeting, which normally winds up talking a lot about what this meeting is. And then there's this meeting that actually happens. So from a staff perspective, that means I'm having 2 meetings on the same day.
Is to abolish the board?
no, all we have to do is tell Marilee that we have no intention of having more than one executive meeting that involves you every month. We promise. I won't let them, even though I'm not there. I will hassle them. I'll get the air out of their tire.
I'm not saying about eliminating the board. I'm saying that one of the ideas that has been discussed, and a potential idea, is that in reviewing, when I reviewed everything all the way back, of how NAC was started. NAC was started because there were 50 neighborhoods, because east of Vancouver had not been annexed. And they voted in 3 or 4 representatives that met every month, not all the neighborhoods. And they only met once a year with all the neighborhoods, and those 4 representatives met once a month. And then we started meeting once a month and had a small board. And I think we were up to 25 neighbors at one time.
Well, we had about 34.
Or 34. It was pretty high, and we still met. And then we met with everybody once a month, and the board still met and planned what was going on. But now our number of neighborhoods is way down, and I just want I'm just throwing out the consideration of, if we wind up with the same number of board members, almost as the same number of people who are regularly attending, do we have it be a commission instead, and everybody is a board member, and we have one meeting, and you guys all discuss everything and you all make decisions together? That is a potential option.
That sounds great.
So my statement that you were eliminating the board was not an act. You're just.
I'm not saying that I'm eliminating the board. I'm saying that this is an idea to be considered. If there's 6 people on the board and there's 10 people coming to meetings, you almost have everybody coming to the meetings on the board already.
Well, and the more we talk about this, the more concerns I have with, I don't have any concerns with the 2 extra representatives. I do think that there could be a different way to advocate for diversity than just increasing the neighborhood representation, but there's nothing wrong with that. I am more concerned with the at-large positions and the vagueness of it, and what Mary Lee is saying is basically the at-large position. They don't have a specific role. It seems like their goal would be to just support and be the person that gets dumped on with whatever other work is not happening.
I didn't say that. I did not say that.
You can make it sound that way.
That would,
No intention.
Oh, no, never.
They have no specific duties. And
so,
Steve said that their position would be to take on the extra work that the board cannot do. So they'd be delegating
choose.
and delegating more work to them.
if they choose, it's all.
Also, those extra sets of ideas and experiences to bring to the board. You know, I guess we could give them some sort of silly titles, but
I just think it
at
could be
large,
outlined
just
more.
seem like, I get what you're saying.
I think
And I have to wonder how are they bringing, who's bringing new ideas and experiences, and when there aren't actually positions open to the folks who are new here. Personally, I'm not advocating, on behalf of myself. I don't really have the time to volunteer for NAC projects in addition to, all the other things that I volunteer for. But when it comes to representation, I mean, I think Marilee raises a good point. If we want to talk about equity and diversity, then why a board separate from the membership if every neighborhood association has one vote in the first place? Why not some kind of committee or commission that's, just made up of the neighborhood associations? Or
And
why not consider some kind of, junior position or whatever you want to call it. I would object to that name personally, but some sort of an adjunct position that doesn't require a year worth of showing up to meetings in order to be able to even run against, a group that's known each other for a lot longer than they've known you. Anyway, I agree that the more we discuss, the more questions there are.
And I want to clarify something. If it was immediately thrown back at me that I am proposing that we eliminate the board, I am sharing comments I've heard from people who do not come to these meetings.
Right.
These are not my ideas. I am sharing things that have been brought to me as concerns from people who don't come to these meetings.
Yeah,
this is
fair enough. I apologize if I mischaracterized.
What we need to find out is why people are not coming to the meetings.
Yes.
Well, and part of that has to do with what we're being effective doing and all of that, which is kind of why the whole idea of, broadening that board to address those issues. Instead of in here where we have limited amounts of time and ability because so many people.
I still don't see why that can't just be a subcommittee then, and why there would be trouble enforcing that responsibility, rather than having it be an at-large position. And your subcommittee could be temporary. Your job is to go recruit for another neighborhood.
The idea is to build the consensus on the board through more diversity and more participation. That's all it is. All this. It's pretty simple.
Would I be out of line to call the question?
It's 8
Seeing
o'clock.
as though it's 8 o'clock? Or I guess you'd have to make a motion to we've already had the discussion.
Yeah.
Moved it.
Yeah,
A motion
Yeah,
to accept. I would like to make a motion to accept the, well, it's
Just
gonna
get
try
this-
to be more technical, but
Okay, go for it.
to accept the proposed bylaws amendments as written.
I second that.
okay. All in favor? And remember, one vote for neighborhood association.
I think it's all a roll call vote to be able to count it
Yes.
Okay.
properly.
Oh, I get to
This is exciting.
Oh,
Point of
Okay.
order.
yes.
I didn't hear how many neighborhood associations were represented at the beginning, so I'm assuming we have a quorum. But also, I see that Isla's voting.
Not, I'm writing. This is a pen. Brendan.
Well, I saw you raise your hand. I saw you raise your hand for the vote. I apologize.
Maybe I can't second it.
Oh, you probably,
Oh, can somebody else second?
I will
Bill?
second it.
Thank
Judy seconds
Thank
it.
you.
Bless your heart.
Judy,
I mean,
Okay.
No. I wasn't.
first name. I couldn't remember Bill's name. Okay, we have a motion that's seconded on the floor to accept the proposed bylaw amendments as distributed. to the commission. I will call a roll call. Brandon had a question around a quorum. I believe we have a quorum.
I have 10 neighborhoods down.
A quorum these days.
Out of how many?
Out of 18,
That's quorum.
so that's a quorum.
Okay, starting at the top, Kirkland Creek, Kim Hamlin.
Is Kim on?
Kim, are you still there?
I think she ran away.
No,
No,
she is here
I'm-
and
I'm-
she is muted.
I'm really here, but I can't see anybody, so it really feels like I haven't been in the conversation. So, because I got this thing in.
Voting off the screen share.
Yeah, I got this screen.
Can you make?
There we go.
Okay.
That's much
I like-
better.
Okay,
So you want me to vote?
Yes,
Can I say something first?
sure.
Thank you. Well, I wanted to say something sooner, but I couldn't raise my hand because that piece of paper was on there and I wanted to move it. That's why I hate being on Zoom, but I'm going to vote yay, but I just want to say we have had subcommittees before, since I've been in there, and they seem to be filled pretty easily. I'm not sure about the at-large thing, but I understand what you guys are trying to accomplish, and I do appreciate that. So I am going to vote yay.
East Fork Alliance, karaoke. Yeah. Hold on.
East Fork Alliance votes yay.
Florida, one vote to Florida. I see you got.
Doug's on there. What's everybody's
Where are they?
position?
They,
Doug is muted. No, he's not.
Yeah, we're still muted.
You're muted,
You
Doug.
muted, Doug.
You're muted. Yes, you are.
No, I think he's voting no.
Oh, you voting?
I'm
no?
voting no, no,
Okay. Got it.
no.
Open your thumbs down.
no, sorry, Meadow Glen,
I will abstain.
Northeast Hazel Dell.
Yes.
Bill.
Good timing on the siren.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Pleasant Highlands, Debbie.
No.
Kirk Van Gelder, Kirkstone.
Yes.
I'll vote for Sherwood Hills, yes. Judy Bomber and Wright, Sunnyside.
Yes, but I'd like to say something too. On my last postcard, we asked people who were interested in serving on the leadership team if they would just let us know, and we would talk to them. And one person said she was interested in helping with the leadership team. So we said, great. And now she comes to the leadership team meetings. There's 4 of us instead of 3. To me, it's very simple.
Thank you, Jake.
Thank you, Jim.
West Hazel Dell.
no.
That's it.
That everybody?
Appears to be.
Yes.
Spin. Spin.
I make it 6 yeses, 3 noes, 1 abstention. Is that tally with yours, Marilyn?
I have 6 yes, 3 no, and 1 abstain.
Okay. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
And just to add to the discussion, we talked about, which was it, the next meeting, the February meeting?
Yeah.
Talking about our priorities and that sort of thing.
We did.
It seems to me an absolute priority, given what Brandon's been saying, and
Yeah.
which we all agree with, is that we should come up with a complete outreach plan to
Yes,
members.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
I didn't catch that. Would you
Sorry?
repeat the last part?
That at our meeting where we set priorities for our activities for this year, that we focus on outreach to bring in new people and get newly active people as we.
Okay, thank you.
And I think that also goes to getting more volunteers for that, some of the activities and events that Marilee has talked about, us getting more involved with, like she carries a heavy load. So that's part of the activities we need.
Exactly, and it also speaks to the point that merely for a reason that is just political, is constantly having to defend her position and what she does and how the outreach works.
Yeah.
We need to get people here so that when we have county departments come in and speak to us,
Yeah.
they're not speaking to 4 people online and 4 people in the room.
Yeah.
We have to do better about that, even
Right.
if we have to go drive our neighbors to come to these meetings. It is
Tried
important.
that tonight.
There you go. Thank you.
Good discussion.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
I didn't, I just about did, and then I
All in
remembered.
favor?
Hey, yeah.
Oh,
What?
good to the order.
Yeah.
I don't know how many of you guys are aware of this, but there's a parade that happens in May. And they always have a grand marshal.
It's Isla.
It's Isla.
Oh, wow.
Isla has been chosen to be the grand marshal of the Israel Parade.
Nice.
Awesome.
What is the parade?
It's the Hazeldale Salmon Creek.
Oh, okay, that parade, all right.
Bands, May 17th.
Yes, Hazeldale Salmon Creek Business Association Parade of Bands. I think it's the 3rd weekend.
Did we finish the
17th,
adjournment?
3rd weekend, always the 3rd.
Did we vote on it? Did we just leave?
I guess so.
So,
That's already been voted on.
Oh, great.
That was the business association.